A split-second decision forever changed the lives of several families in eastern South Dakota. A high-speed chase over country roads on a summer evening in 2017 resulted in a horrific crash.
3 young people in a pickup running from law enforcement all suffered broken necks. The question about why the 23-year-old driver chose to take off rather than stop may never be fully answered. But the bigger question remains on why law enforcement chose to pursue the pickup with 2 passengers inside. KELOLAND's Kennecke has been investigating this police pursuit and has uncovered things that simply don't add up. In tonight's exclusive Eye on KELOLAND, families of those injured are speaking out and asking how the chase was justified.
She wanted to either work with children or elderly.
At 19, Morgan Kennecke was a nursing student who worked 3 jobs.
He was very social, very active.
As a 23-year-old, Talon Barassa worked construction and loved to tinker with motorbikes. On June 17, 2017, Talon, Morgan, and another friend went out for the evening.
So we said, okay, baby, have fun, love you, hugs, kisses, and out the door she went.
The 3 friends were in Talon's Dodge pickup when they drove up this gravel road to where law enforcement had just broken up an underage drinking party at a vacant farmhouse. The Moody County Sheriff's Office, Highway Patrol, Flanders City Police, and Tribal Police had all responded to the call. According to the Moody County Sheriff's report obtained by KELOLAND Investigates, Flanders Santee sued Tribal Police Chief Rob Neuenfeld, and a Moody County deputy in training, Logan Baldini, stepped out onto the road in an attempt to stop Talon's pickup. Baldini says in the report that Talon did stop for a second. Chief Neuenfeld began to give verbal commands, but Talon hit the gas and struck Neuenfeld with his bumper in the thigh and knocked him down before taking off. At that point, the Highway Patrol began chasing the pickup over several county roads, but lost sight of the vehicle on 484th Avenue. Tribal Police Chief Neuenfeld got in his patrol car, and Baldini, the deputy in training, jumped in the passenger seat, and the 2 picked up the pursuit. Neuenfeld and Baldini continued to chase the pickup over a dozen more roads, coming to a stop at the intersection of Highway 13 and Gravel Road 229A. As they pulled up to the vehicle, Baldini got out and ordered Talon to get out of his truck. Instead, he put the pickup in reverse and headed down 229A. This is the dead-end gravel road that Barussa's pickup truck came careening down during those early morning hours, eventually slamming into this fence post right over here. When officers arrived on the scene, they found that all 3 passengers had been thrown from the vehicle and were unconscious. Morgan was lying near a tree. Her shirt and shoes had been ripped off of her body from the force of the crash.
It's a blur. It's a blur.
At 3:15 a.m., the Kennecke's doorbell rang.
She was involved in a car accident and that she got hurt really bad, and they were life-flighting her to Sioux Falls.
The Kenneckes arrived at the emergency room to discover Morgan had swelling of her brainstem.
It was horrible. She had the blood and dirt all over her and a collar around her neck.
At the same time, an officer was knocking on the Barussa's door.
And he told me there'd been an accident and he wasn't expected to live.
Talon also suffered a broken neck and brain injury. The Kennecks were told their daughter should be placed in a coma center, but the Kennecks were not about to give up on Morgan.
But we could feel her. I could feel her soul. I know she's coming back.
Talon is a walking, talking miracle.
I remember waking up in the hospital months and months later.
Do you remember anything about that night?
No.
Nothing at all?
I don't. It's something I hope I'll one day remember.
Talon's brain injury has affected more than his memory. His mother told us he's functioning at the level of an 8-year-old.
He still makes poor decisions and requires 24-hour supervision.
Pretty much never be able to do the things that I used to like to do.
And this stretches her legs and builds muscle.
Morgan's recovery has not been as dramatic. She is unable to speak and must use a wheelchair.
I'm very angry. I'm angry that any child can go out and then it ends up like this. And there's no rhyme or reason.
Because Talon can't remember that day, he's not able to explain why he ran. The toxicology reports on all 3 people in the pickup showed no signs of drugs or alcohol. So what's the need to chase him?
I'm just going to say it, the last name Barasa. He has been in trouble before.
Talon, a recovering meth addict, had served time for burglary. He was out of prison on extended release wearing a GPS ankle bracelet at the time.
He was afraid of going back, so he took off.
Yes.
Probably not a good decision.
No, it wasn't. But the chase wasn't a good thing either. The chase lasted too long. It was at dangerously high speeds. They were endangering the public. Plus, they knew who he was by his ankle bracelet.
KELOLAND Investigates has learned Moody County Deputy in Training Baldini was not certified law enforcement when he jumped into Tribal Police Chief Neuenfeld's car. According to the Bureau of Indian Affairs Law Enforcement Handbook, when a tribal officer is accompanied by civilian passengers, the officer may not engage in a pursuit. The BIA also says a tribal officer is only allowed to pursue a vehicle when he has probable cause those inside have committed a serious felony involving the use or threatened use of violence. Tribal officers must end a pursuit if the safety of others outweigh the danger to the community and there is potential for apprehending the suspect by other means. Remember, Talon was wearing a Department of Corrections ankle bracelet. The BIA says its officers should not become involved in another agency's pursuit unless an outside agency is unable to assist. According to the law enforcement report on the incident, a Flandreau City police officer was just 2 miles away.
At this point, I don't think any chase is necessary.
You have to think not only of the people they're chasing, the passengers in the vehicle, the law enforcement that's chasing them, and the public that's out there that could be hurt.
In South Dakota, there is no state law requiring law enforcement agencies to have pursuit policies in place. The Moody County Sheriff's Office's pursuit policies are vague and on a case-by-case basis. I called all law enforcement agencies involved. The tribal police chief is now a City of Flandreau officer. Our calls to Officer Rob Neuenfeld were not returned. The Flandreau City Police Chief tells me his department didn't chase anyone. The South Dakota Highway Patrol says it's still investigating this chase from a year and a half ago and refused to release its pursuit policies to us. Law enforcement officials all refused on-camera interviews because of possible litigation by families of those involved. The Moody County State's attorney told me no charges have been filed against Talon Barasa for fleeing. We've taken a deep dive into this issue online with a special web page, The Price of Pursuit. That includes a story by KELOLAND's Bob Mercer on South Dakota law, pursuit policies, and open records, as well as lawsuits over police chases that went all the way to the Supreme Court. Being severely injured as a passenger in the pickup was the first tragedy to hit Morgan Kennecke. The second was getting kicked out of a brain rehabilitation center. On Friday night, we'll bring you the next chapter of this story, her family's struggle to get the health care Morgan needs, despite the fact they have insurance through the military because her dad has served for more than 30 years.